I believe now that I have made it to adulthood that I was given a key too soon. I was in the 3rd grade when my dad got a job at Maser Fiber Optics. He would be working from 2 till 11, making more money than he had ever made before, but there was a catch. Dad had always worked from 6 to 2, which meant that he would be home before 3 so that he could get me off the bus. Mom had a typical 9 to 5, something she couldn't change, and that left 2 hours where I would be unattended. 2 hours didn't seem that long, though, and the money was so much better than what he had made at the phone company that he decided to give me some trust. I wasn't a kid who lacked responsibility, and I didn't usually have trouble following rules, so they decided I was old enough to be trusted to let myself in and lock the door behind me. Just let yourself in, make a snack, do your homework, don't answer the phone or the door if someone comes around. Can you do that? I nodded, thinking it sounded exciting, and so I became a Latchkey kid. It went pretty well for a while. I'd come home, make some Nesquik and bagel bites, do my homework, go watch cartoons until Mom came home and started dinner. It was a good system until I came home to find something was different. I came home from school, worrying about my math homework, when I found that the front door was unlocked. I put my key in, meaning to turn it so I could get inside, but the door just pushed open as it creaked into the quiet house. I felt a little chill run through me. The door was never unlocked. My parents were notorious about locking it, always had been, and as I looked into the seemingly empty house, I felt sure that I didn't want to go in there. Go inside, make a snack, do your homework, watch some TV till I get home. That was my mom's voice echoing in my head, and it moved me past the wall of fear that was building in me. I went inside, closed the door, locked the door, and went to the kitchen for my snack. I'd lived in my house my whole life, and in that time, I'd never felt unsafe there. It was my house. You're supposed to feel safe in your house, but as I walked through the living room and towards the kitchen, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It was that feeling I felt sometimes when I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. The feeling of monsters watching me. But it was the first time I'd felt it in the daytime. Something was watching me. Something unfriendly. And as I moved into the kitchen, I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. It was gone when I looked, but I was pretty sure it had been there. I shrugged it off at the time, though, and went to get my chocolate milk and chips. I was scared, but I was also 8. When you're 8, it isn't uncommon to jump at shadows or think there might be ghosts or something. You know it can't be real, but that doesn't stop it from making you scared. I took the powder out of the cabinet, took the milk out of the fridge, and spooned it into my glass as I prepared to mix it. I had the milk up, ready to pour, when I saw something reflected in the side of the glass. It wasn't exactly the reflection of a person, but as the milk slowly sloshed into the cup, I saw something lumpy and ill-defined peek at me from the door of the kitchen. I couldn't tell what it was, and when the milk spilled over the rim and onto the countertop, I almost dropped the jug. I couldn't tell what it was, and when the milk spilled over the rim and onto the countertop, I almost dropped the jug. I managed to get the paper towels before the milk spilled onto the floor, but when I peeked at the door, no one was there. I put my chips in a bowl and got my homework out of my backpack as I went to set at the dining room table. Unlike usual, I sat with my back to the door to the backyard. If there was something here, something I was becoming pretty sure there was, I wanted to be able to run if the time came. As I bent over my work, I kept seeing something peek around the edge of the kitchen door. It was always gone when I looked up, but not quite. It was like catching a kid peeking around a corner who pulled his head in just a little too slowly, and I almost imagined that I could hear whoever it was giggling when I almost saw them. My teeth were chattering, and I'll never know how I stopped myself from crying, but somehow I kept my cool as I worked through my math homework. It was the most scared I had ever been in my entire life, even more than the time I had snuck into the living room to watch scary movies, and I was having trouble finishing my math. Who could focus on fractions when something was in your house, watching you? I was just scribbling now, barely paying attention to what I was writing. I was more interested in trying to see this thing that was stalking me. I couldn't catch more than a glimpse, but it was bald and looked fat. It had no neck. Its head and shoulders were simply smooth mounds of fat, but it was the eyes and the mouth that scared me the most. Its eyes were little more than dark, piggy circles. There was no white to them. They looked like doll's eyes as they stared at me. And the mouth was drawn up in a grin. The lips were wet. The teeth were shiny, like the thing kept running its tongue over them constantly. The eyes, despite having no real color other than black, looked hungry, and the mouth was like that of a wolf in one of the cartoons. He was another big bad wolf just looking for a pig to gobble up, and I was the one he had found at home. I might not know what these fractions meant, but I had figured out one thing. I had figured out that I had to get out of here. Whatever it wasn't a monster or a boogeyman. That thing was human, and the longer I sat there, the more I could smell it. It was giving off a smell like my Uncle Tom did at Christmas sometimes. It smelled sweet and sour and a lot like old sweat. Something I would later learn was skin expelling liquor. As a kid, I just knew it smelled bad, and I wanted to get away from it before it decided to gobble me up. I thought and thought, trying to find some reason why I would need to go outside. Then I saw the trash. It was full, the empty biscuit can sitting on top like an old snakeskin. And that's when I got an idea. The garbage was one of my chores, as long as there wasn't any glass in it, so after cleaning up my homework, I went to the can and started taking the bag out so I could take it outside. I headed for the back door, knowing it was watching me, and when I opened the back door, I heard it. Heavy footsteps running after me. I slammed the door and dropped the bag, running for the fence that separated the front and backyard. I heard it hit the door, heard it trip over the bag, and I heard it fall onto the back porch, but I was already around the house and heading for the neighbor's house. If it had been any other day, I would have kept running, looking for someone who was home, but I saw the Staub's car in the driveway and knew that they were home. I heard the gate open and close, but I was already hammering on my neighbor's door. I heard someone drop something in the kitchen, heard Mrs. Staub come hurrying to the door, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see the thing coming around my house and towards the neighbor's house. I pounded even harder, wrenching at the knob, and when Mrs. Staub opened the door, I shot inside and yelled for her to close it because something was after me. She looked up, and she must have seen something, because she slammed and locked the door. Then she called the police, and after that, she called my mom. The police beat my mom home, but only just. I told Mom what I'd seen, told her something had been stalking me in the house, and how the door had been unlocked when I got home. She reassured me that it was fine, that it was probably nothing. She said it was probably just my mind playing tricks on me, but Mrs. Staub told her that nothing had been playing tricks on my mind, and she had seen it too. It was a fat, naked man who tried to come right up on my porch, and I'll testify to that before the throne of God. Mom was very confused, and what the police discovered didn't help matters much. They found a large man, one with very little neck, hiding in my closet, as if he expected me to come back after he had chased me out of the house. They didn't find any ID on him for obvious reasons, but they found his clothes folded neatly in the backyard underneath my mother's rose bushes. Mom told me later that he had a record of doing stuff with kids, but that this was the first time he had escalated into something like this. I'm thankful that they got him before he could actually hurt a child, but he was responsible for the scariest day of my life. After that, my mom asked my aunt to come and meet me at the house when I got off the bus and to sit with me until she got home. That kept on until I was in middle school, and Mom decided I could probably look after myself again. I still think about that day a lot, and it's probably why I kept my kids in after-school care for as long as I did.
You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.